4-11. That is the record of the Houston Texans. At the time I am recording this video, they currently sit third in the AFC South, and I think there's a lot that can be done with this team moving forward. There's a lot of things that this team has to address to really fix what they have built for this roster. There's a lot of one-year contracts, and there's a lot of opportunities for this team to look completely different going into next season. Their top draft pick's going to be really big moving forward, and there's also a lot of other things that they're going to have to look to address as well. So in this video, we're going to be addressing the Houston Texans team mock draft and try and make this team a little bit more competitive going into 2022. I want to see them pull off some big moves. I want them to trade Deshaun Watson. I'm interested in them trading Laramie Tunsil potentially. However, you don't have to necessarily do that. You've got him under contract, and he's a pretty good tackle. So it's worth keeping him around. There's a few other players that they could look to move as well. A guy like Brandon Cooks maybe. However, he does make some sense to keep around as well if you're not getting the best trade offers in the world for him. And I think Davis Mills does make this process a little bit easier. He's played fairly well as a rookie, and I think there is a lot of credit due to him to making this process a little bit easier for Houston. They don't necessarily have to panic and draft a quarterback in the first round. We're going to be doing a 4-round mock draft here. That's the standard thing that I do on the channel. I'm going to do 4 rounds here for the Houston Texans. And you see our draft here starts 3rd overall. And wow, Derek Stingley went 2nd to the Detroit Lions. So this gives me an interesting opportunity. Again, we could look at the quarterback position. There are some good quarterbacks out here. However, the quarterback class this year is not like it was last year, where you have 5 guys who are true first-round level players and, teams moving up a ton for quarterbacks. However, I do want to note that quarterbacks generally do get overdrafted, and usually QB-needy teams do take risks when it comes to drafting a quarterback. Think about the Cardinals a few years back when they drafted Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen, in hindsight, probably wasn't a top 10 type of player. You could argue some of the same things about some of these guys this year. I think the Texans will do their evaluations on quarterbacks. However, I ultimately don't see them going with a quarterback in this draft. I think they're going to go based off what the board presents to them. I think they're going to try and grab best player available. And here, that's going to be Kavon Thibodeau out of Oregon. Extremely good edge rusher, and I think there's a lot more upside there yet for him to unlock as well when you consider what he brings to the table. He's been very productive throughout his career at Oregon when he's been healthy, and now there has been some injury concerns. But if you're the Houston Texans, you can't buy into that. Kavon Thibodeau has extreme and immense upside. He's really good using his hands with speed. As a rusher off the edge, he's going to be able to beat people with his bend and with his quickness off the line of scrimmage. And offensive tackles are going to have issues trying to stay in front of him. He's going to be a very dynamic edge. And really, we've seen it the last few years. The edge position has become almost the most premium position, arguably. Of course, quarterback is always going to be that number 1 position, but edge is right there. Edge is an extremely important position. Most of the best teams in the NFL have elite edge rush play. And I think the Houston Texans, this is a great way to get there. Draft Kavon Thibodeau. You immediately improve your team greatly. The fact that he fell to us 3rd overall makes it a no-brainer. You have to pull the trigger at that point. And then 37th overall here, looking at what's on the board here, there's a few really good players out here. Drake London, a wide receiver out of USC, would be extremely interesting to me. Ahmad Gardner out of Cincinnati. This guy's a 1st-round corner in my book. I don't know how they have him ranked 36th. That is ridiculous. Okay, to me, he's a top 20 player in the class, and I think that's pretty clear. There's also some good running backs out here. I know Houston, you've struggled with putting together consistent running back play. Phillip Lindsay was the starter at the beginning of the year. He hasn't stuck around, obviously got released. There's some other good options out here as well, though. Daniel Falele, really good offensive tackle from the University of Minnesota. For me, however, though, just based off what I've seen on the board, the answer has to be Ahmad Gardner here out of Cincinnati. He's a 1st-round level player, and he's available here 37th overall. Even if it's not the most realistic thing, with him being available to me, I have to draft him. I have to do my part, have to do the best thing for this team. And drafting Ahmad Gardner in the 2nd round, that's an absolute steal. Okay, Sauce Gardner, he hasn't given up a touchdown yet at this point of his career. Of course, he does play Alabama this weekend, so we'll see if that changes. But he's been just phenomenal for the Cincinnati Bearcats. I think he's a really good pickup here as we move into round 3, and Malik Willis is still on the board here. This mock draft's a little wild. In a vacuum, I would draft Malik Willis here, no question at all. But I'm going to operate like He's not actually here. I had not planned on drafting a quarterback in this mock draft because I don't think it's likely the Houston Texans take one in round 1. And then I think it's unlikely that a really good quarterback is going to be available in rounds 2 or 3. Malik Williston is a first-round quarterback as well. So for the purpose of this video, I would draft him if he was available here to me. I would actually take him, but I'm not going to do that for the mock draft. We're going to look at some other positions, other areas of need for this Houston Texans football team. So I think there's still a lot of ways we can improve. I think we need to go into the offensive line a little bit here. I want to look at some of the offensive tackles, see what we could look at drafting here at this spot. And we do see it's thinned out a little bit. Jackson Kirkland's here. He was looked at as a potential first-round pick at the beginning of the year. Tough season, though, this year for him. Kind of moved him down a little bit. Interior offensive line, Jamari Salyer's here. Thayer Munford as well. Sean Ryan. He's an interesting guy out of UCLA for the Bruins. I think I want to go back to that tackle spot, and I do think I want to actually pull the trigger here on Jackson Kirkland. I know it looks like a little bit of an overdraft based off his draft positioning on here, but remember, they have some of these guys ranked a little bit differently than I think they're actually going to end up being. And 75th overall, again, same story here with Malik Willis. I would actually take him if he was available to me here, but I don't believe that he actually will be. So for me, I'm going to go with Henry To'oTo'o. Right now, they've got, Kamu Grugier-Hill playing in there. They got Eric Wilson at linebacker as well. They do have some decent linebackers, but most of them are on one-year deals. And I think Henry To'oTo'o becomes a build-around piece in the middle of that defense. You've been able to address edge with Kavon Thibodeau, able to address cornerback with Sauce Gardner. And then you come back and also grab Henry To'oTo'o in the 3rd round. It's an incredibly improved defense already, just from those 3 guys. I think there's still more work to be done. I think they have to be creative in free agency, find a way to land a good player or 2 for that defense. But I think that this is a really good building block for the Houston Texans. I'm interested to see if Desmond King's going to be around next year for them or not. But I think we've greatly improved the team so far. We also have another pick coming up here at 129 that I think we're going to be able to get something done with here. I would like to look at a safety if we can find one. Unfortunately, Hassan Haskins went. I would have loved to grab him out of Michigan. He had a huge game against Ohio State en route to going and winning that matchup to get to the Big Ten Conference Championship game when they won it. And now looking here, let's go ahead and pull up the safety spot. And you see it has thinned out a little bit. Smoke Monday still out here, though. Probably not this early, though. Tight end, there's a couple decent ones out here, but I don't really think that's the biggest need at this point for the Houston Texans. Let's go ahead and look at the actual running back position. There's a few guys that I would consider, but I think with the strength of this class, we can wait a little bit longer on some of these running backs. Sincere McCormick out of UTSA, they had a wonderful season. The Roadrunners did. I don't think we necessarily need to hit that yet, though. I'm going to actually go with Romeo Doubs here out of Nevada. He's been huge this season for Carson Strong, and I think he's going to be a player who goes higher than what they have projected here on this board. I think that with this draft, we've been able to help both sides of the ball a little bit. We were able to grab a pretty good offensive tackle, and then we're also able to grab a few other things that really help this defense. Kavon Thibodeau, Ahmad Gardner, those are 2 no-brainer picks at the spots we took them. 3rd overall, Kavon Thibodeau, a really good selection. 37th overall, grabbing Sauce Gardner, incredible. If you haven't watched film on him yet, make sure you go do that after this video. He's going to be a very productive NFL corner. I like his man-to-man coverage skills. He's a little light. I think he could use a little bit more weight on him, but he is quick. He's agile. He's good at covering out in space. I think that's extremely important at that cornerback position in the NFL. He's going to be a boundary corner. That's what you need. That's what the Houston Texans need, and they get it with him. 68th overall, we went with Jackson Kirkland out of Washington. Like I said, I think there's good upside there. And I think that he is someone who could have been a first-round tackle had he played a little bit more consistently this season. 75th, we go with Henry To'oTo'o, who's a real center point to that Alabama defense. Him and Dylan Moses together are huge as linebacking duo for Alabama. And then we come back and grab Romeo Doubs out of Nevada from the Wolfpack. He's been a good wide receiver option. And I think this is a good way to show how through the first 4 rounds, Houston Texans can really mold their draft in a way that's going to benefit both sides of the ball. We got a few good defensive players, 3 of them. Then we come back and get 2 good offensive players as well in Jackson Kirkland, Romeo Doubs. This is about as good of a draft as you could have if you're the Houston Texans. Kavon Thibodeau falling to us at 3. That's huge. Sauce Gardner being available at 37th, huge. Remember, 68th overall. Had Malik Willis actually been available, I would have pulled the trigger on him. But Jackson Kirkland is a good pick. I don't think Malik Willis will really be there on draft night. That's why I did not model that. I didn't want you guys to get your hopes up for something that I just do not think will happen. Then 75th, Henry To'oTo'o. 129, Romeo Doubs. I think it's a really good draft for the Houston Texans. I think we did about as well as we possibly could coming into this 4 rounds. Texans fans, let me know in the chat what you think I could have done better, what players maybe you want to see playing for the Houston Texans next season. There's some really good prospects out there this year, and I think that the Houston Texans would be lucky to get their hands on some of the guys I drafted even in this video. Again, hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.